If you're constantly dipping into your pension, by the time you're 60, 65, you'll have removed that compounding effect.
Coming up on this episode.
Where should somebody begin when they're thinking about planning for retirement? So perhaps we're talking to a 25, 26-year-old.
For investment to actually work, and more so like pension investment, it's about time, that compounding effect.
Am I putting my money in the right place when I put it in the pension?
Pension money is not your speculation money. Pension money is for your future.
So what investment options other than the pension?
So 85% of your money should actually be sitting in equities. Then the balance in stable investments like your fixed income.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is that you are watching us from. This is the ICIFA Investment Show, and my name is Rina Hicks. Did you know that 8 out of 10 Kenyans are retiring poor, unable to maintain their standard of living, the one that they had before they retired, either depending on family and friends to support them in their retirement or continuing to work because they're not able to meet their needs? I mean, the statistics are not nice. They are worrying, and we don't want any of us to be in that statistic. And that's why we're having this conversation today. We are discussing retirement. I am so pleased to have with me today Jackline Onyango. Jackie is the Chief Investment Officer at African Alliance Kenya Asset Managers. She is in charge of the department that helps advise their customers on how to invest. And I'm so pleased to have her here because she will be discussing with me the topic of retirement and giving us advice on what we should and should not do. Jackline, we are so pleased to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Good. So before we delve into it, perhaps you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the subject of the day.
Okay. My name is Jackline Onyango, as you said. I am a mother to a 4 years, 6 months boy. I am a practicing Catholic. I am a herbs farmer. And I guess the Chief Investment Officer at African Alliance. I've had the privilege of actually going through the whole circuit of investment, from equity analysis, fixed income, portfolio management, advisory, looking for impact investment opportunities. So my typical day would range from speaking to a retail investor on how to create their portfolios, on what kind investment opportunities that are out there, or speaking to trustees in the pension industry, discussing about returns on their portfolios and how we can improve on that. Coming through the pandemic, looking for companies that I feel are creating impact in the environment, in the economy and in households and individuals' lives. Just trying to make life better. Yes.
Really awesome. Super. So in your work and in the profession that you've been in, what are some of the mistakes that you see that we make, common mistakes we make when it comes to planning for retirement?
Okay, I feel like the biggest mistakes we make is assuming it's far off. In your 20s, you feel like I still have at least 40, 45 years to go.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, I will live now. Let me enjoy instant gratification right now. Then we get to your 30s and you're like, I still have some time. By the time you get into your 40s, you're like, okay, maybe 20 years doesn't seem that long. Maybe I should try. And then slowly, time just moves. Saddest bit about it, it just continues to move.
And the unfortunate thing is at that time at 40, you have so many other obligations.
Yes. And you see, like, for investment to actually work, and more so like pension investment, it's about time. It tends to be about time, and that compounding effect. So in your 20s, you have very few responsibilities. Chances are high your pay slip comes through, you're thinking, what am I going to spend this on? It is no already laid out plan of, I need to do this, you need to do this. No. What am I going to spend this on? So if you're parking your money at that time, then you keep it. For example, if you're putting away 500 shillings monthly for 40 years at about 6.5, you'll get 1.1 million.
Say that again?
If you're putting away 500 shillings monthly.
Monthly, okay.
Putting away monthly, in something that is earning 6.5% for 40 years, you'll get roughly about 1.1 million.
Okay.
If you're doing that for 20 years, you'll not get anywhere close to that 1.1. You'd actually have to put away about, if I'm not wrong, 2,200 monthly. See the difference between the 500 and the 2,000. Chances are high, 500 shillings, you won't feel it. You will disappear every month. But you see, you waiting up until you're 40 to start that has now increased it to about 2,000, and you're now thinking, what am I going to pay for service charge or save this amount of money? I think the other mistakes that I see us doing is for people who are moving employers, every time you leave an employer, you actually access your pension and consume it. Assuming that at my next employer, the salary will be higher, so I'll be saving more and I'll have money. But then you get to 60 and all that is gone.
Yeah.
But life tends to be perfect in hindsight, sadly. You're like, maybe I should not have eaten that money, but it's too late. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is not starting early.
Yes.
Or waiting too long, thinking you have a lot of time.
That's true.
And then the second one is accessing your pension when you're changing employers. Yes. So your advice is don't access any pension. Transfer it to a different account, whatever you need to do, transfer it to the new employer, but don't access that money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so that you're actually building a pot. Every time, similar to a savings account, if they didn't put those limits of how often you can remove money from a savings account, chances are you'd constantly be dipping in there. So if you're constantly dipping into your pension, by the time you're 60, 65, you'll have removed that compounding effect from actually saving for pension. So, for example, you work 20 to 30, and then you found a new employer, you consume that. Now you'll be saving for like the 30 to the 65.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so then where should somebody begin when they're thinking about planning for retirement? So perhaps we're talking to a 25, 26-year-old has just gotten their first job. They want to do the things, plan right. Where should they begin? Okay,
where to begin? In all honesty, the best point to begin is with your first salary.
Okay.
I know it sounds ambitious, because with your first salary, you're thinking, I needed to do this, and I needed to send money to my mother, I needed to buy gifts, I needed to improve my house where I'm living. But then if you're not saving then you'll miss out without compounding. Start then, grow the discipline. I've come to learn life works very well when you have like a system. When you remove that whole concept of willpower, I will force myself to do this. So start from the word go. And if, for example, you have an employer that will match your pension, the better. Because that's free money if you think about it. Because if, for example, different institutions do different percentages. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 15. And then if you're in some really good institutions, the employer will actually give in higher than what you're contributing. So you could be doing 5% and then the employer does 10%. That one literally you've been given 10% of your salary for free.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that. There's the tax benefits that you get for contributing up until 20,000. Take advantage of that. You see, as the years have gone past, you realize people are taking much longer to move out of their parents' homes. So if you're still at home, you're not paying rent. Save that. There's usually the option of even additional voluntary contributions. Take advantage of that. So that you're actually, even if it means maxing it out up until you're 20,000, then once you've maxed that out, even do additional voluntary, so that you're building that pot from a younger age. I remember seeing a chart on The Economist whereby it was giving an example of 2 individuals. One is starting to save at 25, so they put money away for like 5 years, same amount of money, like 5,000 shillings everyone. So they contribute for 5 years monthly, and this other one starts at 30 and contributes for the rest of their lives. And yet you'll find that this one who was contributing from 25 up until 30 and then stopped will have a higher amount. Again, that compounding. So never at one time should someone feel like it's too early. Let me not start now. I can start with my next paycheck. Build the discipline, put the system in place so that you can achieve what you're working towards.
Yeah.
So you're in your 30s. Responsibilities have increased. There are children that need to be taken care of. You're paying bills left, right, and center, and you're now trying to see how do I go about this? Of course, every single cent now counts.
Yeah, the responsibilities are just overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think the bulk of Kenyans, the last 2 years, if you have children, you felt it because you're constantly paying fees. So those things just can scare you. So you're in your 30s, you need to if you have a system and you've removed what I call willpower, you know very well this amount has to go. So the amount will go. And in your 60s, 65, I'll call it delayed gratification. In your 60 and you're in 65, when everything else has fallen away, you no longer have a job you need to go to. So you have extra free time, and if it's a case where you now don't have money, it becomes very difficult. Life cycle tends to be in a very strange way, if you ask me. When you have the energy, you don't have the time. When you have the energy, you don't have the money. Then on this other side, you're free, you've retired, you're still energetic the first few years. So if you don't have money, what are you going to do? So anytime, start. If 30 has passed you, 40 is a good time. Just realize that your decisions are going to be different. You don't have that liberty of saying, I'll contribute the minimum. You now need to increase your contributions if you're actually going to meet your goal.
Okay. So you talked about a system, so that you're not using willpower or having to make a decision literally every month.
Yes.
Maybe you can give us an example of how somebody would be able to do that.
Okay. I find the easiest one is the pension, the company kind of pension, corporate pension that is offered. You never see that money. So at the payroll point, they're already deducting that. The other one is the individual pension schemes that exist. If you put in a standing order, you know very well you're you're self-employed, so you know the money that is going to come in. Putting a standing order, so it's very clear your money hits your account and it goes into your pension. I find, and I read this from a book, it says, willpower is in short supply.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna if you're gonna convince yourself not to eat junk food and then also pension, you might actually expel it, as in complete your willpower, the storage that you have on what you're eating, and have none for pension. So you're like, let me just eat and move on. So yeah, put things in place that ensure that your pension contributions are going. Okay. You will be grateful for that at a later time.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of people feel, I think it's important, there's this pension option, but the performance of the pension funds may not be as exciting as cryptocurrency or as stocks. I could buy Tesla and in another couple of years, or Microsoft or Facebook or whatever. Am I putting my money in the right place when I put it in the pension? Perhaps you can speak to that a little bit in terms of an option for retirement.
Okay, all right. At the back of every single investor, return tends to be the driving factor. But then when you're looking at pension money is not your speculation money. Pension money is for your future. For your speculation money right now, you could easily do the life cycle kind of investment structure, whereby I like the 120% rule, whereby if you minus your age from 120, then you know what equities you're going to buy or what bonds you should be buying.
Can we do that as an example? maybe?
Yes.
So if, let's say somebody is, I don't know, 35.
Oh, so you're 35, so 120 minus the 35. So we're sitting at about 5, 11 minus 3, we're sitting at about 85.
Mm-hmm.
So 85% of your money should actually be sitting in equities. Then the balance in stable investments like your fixed income. So it works in such a way that the younger you are, the more risky assets you're taking on board. When you're talking about pension, if you're only looking at one source of income, because you see, retirement in its place and how it is when the income you're able to generate from your assets is enough to cater for your expenses. So you could easily retire at 30. But you need to make sure that the stool you're sitting on has at least 3 legs. So your pension money is on one side, so it could be a company pension, corporate pension, individual personal pension. You have the NSSF, which of course is not what I'd call the ideal scenario. So that's your second leg. Then your third leg is your own personal investments.
Okay.
So you want to do the cryptocurrency, you want to do the higher returns, use that quantity. Because you see, the amount you even put in pension, I'm yet to come across someone who even does like 25% of their salaries. I'm yet to come across that person. So if you're talking about only 25, 10, 15% going into your pension, you still have the bulk. You can use that for speculation and to grow your portfolio so that you literally have 3 stooled legs at retirement. Income coming from all these other sources to ensure your lifestyle doesn't have to change.
So the reliance on pension is dangerous, from what I've heard you say, that you can't just rely on the one leg. You need to also have these other sources of income from different assets that you're putting aside. So what investment options, other than the pension? I think we've discussed the pension as the retirement option. Is it the only way to save for retirement?
So is it the only way? I would actually say no. Picking up from like the 3 stools, for you to retire, your income, your passive income, should be able to cater for your expenses.
Okay.
So pension, if we talk about, if we look at the replacement ratios that we have out there, you'll find that very few people ever even hit like 80% if you're just looking at your pension. So there's going to be need for either people to contribute more to their pension, for them to actually say, I'm able to get 80% from my pension, I'm able to get equivalent of 80% of what my salary was. Otherwise, retirement becomes something different. It's no longer the lifestyle you're used to. So if you're able to reach your 80%, then there's need for the 20% to be met. Because for some unknown reason, expenses only seem to grow.
Okay.
It does not matter whether you're still in employment or in your retirement, expenses just grow. So you'll need, do your pension, increase your contribution into that space, but also build a personal savings and investment portfolio. Because that will always come in handy. We've seen people who, you'll find that the guys who enjoy retirement are the guys who also have a different source of income. It could be rental income from houses that they bought previously. It could be the coupons that come from government securities, and I think that's what I'm very passionate about, guys. Get an account at Central Bank. It does not cost you anything. Walk in. You'll walk out with the documentations that you need and then bring them back and you're set. So if you're constantly buying a bond, you get paid, you buy a bond. Get paid, you buy a bond. By the time you're getting into retirement, your coupons will be enough to literally give you something equivalent to like a salary every single month.
Right.
And then combined with your pension, you never have to change your lifestyle. But see, like if you get to about 50, 60 years and your replacement ratio is much lower compared to what your income was, you're now sitting in spaces of where you have to downsize. If you're not downsizing, you're now calling on what I'd call the black tax, where children will now have to support you And you see, for them, even them expenses are increasing. So it's a struggle of, do I invest for the future? Will I have anything left over to hand over to my children? Or am I going to support my folks?
Yeah, makes sense completely. And so some of the passive income sources, I think you've mentioned them. So you've talked about rental income, you've talked about income from investing in bonds, and then also, of course, the fact that you have the pension. What other passive income sources would you suggest to those who are wondering, how can I generate additional income?
How can you generate additional income? I like the idea of money market funds. I honestly like the idea of money market funds because this is money where you're able to earn higher than you would if you're putting that money in like a bank account. And the options in the market are many. And you can clearly see the yields daily published. So I like that space. But I'm not saying that that should be your landing space. Create what I'd call a diversified portfolio so that you're saving your money in your money market fund. So saving it in there to create your emergency fund. Industry says go as high as 6 months worth of money. See, if you've retired and you had an emergency fund, you're not scared. Most guys feel like I'll have to work up until the very end because I don't have anything to fall on. Save in your money market fund, create that emergency fund, 6 months worth of it. Once you have your money market fund, create the rest of the portfolios. Depending on how old you are, you could easily buy equities. The volatility will not kill you. You still have a long time to go before you're actually getting your returns. I do believe you've seen some of the wealthy people in the country. They bought equities, but they knew it was a long-term play. It's not going to be, I'm getting into this for speculative kind of purchases. Additional passive income. I don't have the heart for crypto. I honestly do not have the heart for crypto. But yeah, or the currency kind of trading, I don't have the heart for it. But for the people who have the heart for it, they can actually go in there. The investment tends to be your risk profile and your risk tolerance. So if you have the risk tolerance, take advantage of it. Because as the years go by, you might not be able to buy as many equities as you would like to have bought. Because if you're closer to retirement and you walk into African Alliance, I'm not going to be saying, I think we should get into the equity fund. No. I'm actually going to be leading you to areas that are going to give you constant kind of income to just supplement some of the pension that you might have.
Okay. So now I want to talk about healthcare because that's one of the largest costs when it comes to retirement season. How can you integrate healthcare and your healthcare needs and the costs that come with that as you plan for your retirement? And what's the best way to do it?
Okay. So the regulator RBA, so there's an act that allows you to actually save for your retirement, for your medical care and retirement. But it's actually been left to the corporate pensions themselves to come up with exactly how this is going to be done. But nothing stops an individual from walking up to their trustees and saying, I want this. Allow me to do this. But this is going to mean now you actually go back into pocket and say, I have sat down and realized the older you get, your health kind of deteriorates. And that is the time where you no longer have medical. So you're no longer employed, so you don't have medical. And if you're running into like the insurance companies at that point, you'll find very few actually cover like over 75, over 85-year-old guys. And with everything that we are seeing right now, we're going to live longer. The medical advancement that has been made, we will live longer. So situations whereby 100, we are still meeting for tea, we're still in the spaces. So, and at that point is when you realize arthritis has shown up. Before you know it, a disc in your back has moved. You need knee surgery, all this come at an expense. Yes, there is NHIF, it can sort, but it would be helpful if you actually have like a medical cover that can cover you during that period. So start saving for now. As you're retiring and you're buying your annuity or you're going into your income drawdown, you also buy your medical cover so that you're covered at that point. It's not a case whereby when someone gets sick, the whole family now needs to come together again, the black tax that I'm talking about, so that you can ensure that either your mom or your dad is better. I've seen, like with my folks, my father healthy as a horse. My mother, on the other hand, she'll either have arthritis, so it's either my sisters will have to come together and try and figure out what hospital, because you see, you're trying to ensure that your parents stay alive. So you'll find you have to find the very best for them. But you see, when I'm being paid, I am not sitting around and saying, this is for my mom's medical care. No.
Why not?
Why not?
As a principal, not for you, but as a principal.
As a principal, because you see, there are other expenses. I need to think about fees. I need to think about the expenses I need to be paid for. I'm investing now for like my son. It's never for my mother's healthcare. So it's when the actual, like maybe her leg is hurting, and we're like, we need to fly her in so that she can get the very best. For some unknown reason, I don't trust the hospital where she is, so I'm like, let me bring her in for that. But over the years, I'm now learning, make sure NHIF is running. Make sure you put money aside for just Imam needs to get to hospital. But naturally, that wouldn't be the first thing I'm thinking, Mom needs to go to hospital. Because I'm always praying, she's fine, she'll be okay, yes.
Yeah.
But if she had like a medical, post-retirement medical, that's already covered for. For me to just be like, which hospital is she going to? Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So I want you to advise based on age, if it is possible.
Okay.
What advice would you give for those in their 20s? Let's start with the 20s.
Okay. You're in your 20s, you have fewer responsibilities, save more.
Save more.
Save more, and kindly save it in a tax efficient way.
Okay, maybe you can sort of just help us understand what that means.
Save more, so when I'm telling you save more and in a tax efficient way, buy an IFB,
Okay.
an infrastructure bond. It's tax free. Save more and save wiser. Instead of having your money sitting in a bank account, earn a higher yield on it.
So use like a money market fund instead.
Yes, earn a high yield on it. Make sure you have all your options open. If interest rates were to move up in the bond side, you have an account ready. So it's not a case that I'm telling you now, interest rates are moving, go open the account. Chances are you're going to miss out in between here. But the lethargy will be like, let it go. I'll catch it next time. Get your ducks in line when you're younger.
Okay.
So you're in your 30s, the responsibilities are here. You can save, but now chances are high the amount you're saving will be much lower compared to what you'd have been saving in your 20s. But remain within the same system. So if it was a case whereby you had put in place, you'd be saving 20%, continue saving the 20% if it's possible. If it's not, look at your expenses. So write down what your expenses look like. What among these can you reorganize to allow you to maintain your saving culture to continue? In there, we look at your portfolios to see, because you're literally building your future portfolio. You're building the income. If someone was to walk up to you and say, in your 40s, go buy government bonds, I honestly don't think you'll be able to build up a similar portfolio as you would have been able to do had you started in your 20s, in your 30s.
Okay.
Because you see, if, for example, if I look at the statistics from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, very few people will earn above like their 100,000. But there are options for you to actually buy bonds of 50.
Yeah.
So if you're buying those 50 gradually, Yes, your coupon will not be that high when it hits your account, but there'll be many of them as you're going. And as they mature, you're able to buy bigger ones. Then when you're in your 40s, my advice would be look at your expenses so that you cut out the fat. Literally cut out the fat. Even as I'm saying it, it sounds very difficult to do. Because you're thinking, I need to go out with friends, I need to improve the look of my house, I need to buy this new furniture. As in, there's a lot of stuff that you need to do. So savings just doesn't click well, but cut out the fat. I'm not saying be frugal towards yourself, but at least ensure that you've put in place. If, for example, during the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs. And the rest of us who now still had jobs, it's when it hit us, why aren't you saving? What if you get fired? What happens? You see, very few people have that emergency kitty that we all know we should have, but very few people have it. And what you realize is you could be in a terrible job, but you can't leave because you're like, what happens? So in your 40s, cut out the fat, because as it is, you're getting closer to retirement, so you're going to have to now rationalize what expenses do I need to, will I actually be paying for? Because you might find that if we cut out the fat, the replacement ratio, the amount, the like 70, 80% could be enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're in your 50s?
In your 50s, now you honestly need to start rationalizing, because you no longer have the luxuries of
Time.
thinking I still have time. For now here, you're retiring because of age, not because you had made the investments that allowed you to retire early. It's because of age, and it's going to get you to that point. I don't think it's possible for indigenous Africans, but if you look at the rest of the world, you find that at 50, they actually downsize. They sell their houses, move into apartments. Because you see, for them, they know there are no more children in this house, so I don't need that much space.
Yeah.
Africans, on the other hand, we want a bigger house. We'll never use all the rooms. You'll find that you'll only use the kitchen, the bathroom, and your bedroom, and entertain in the sitting room, and that's it. So you don't need the extra rooms. But at 50, you now need to properly start doing your plans. And then the other thing is, a household's balance sheet tends to be made up of a number of things. So you have your financial assets, you have your intellectual assets, and then you have your family assets. As people are running around making a living, you find that your family assets tend to suffer the most. So when you're getting closer to 50, start investing in that, because that's where you're going to spend the bulk of your time once you retire.
With your family.
With your family.
That means relational capital.
Put a lot of stuff in there. Be intentional.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We have come to the end of the show today. You have been watching the ICIFA Investment Show. We've been speaking with Jackline Onyango on retirement and the importance of planning and thinking through how you're going to retire. And, you know, I think it's a great conversation to have, very, very important, so that you put in place the right systems to ensure that you are saving effectively towards retirement, because we don't want to be in that statistic that we shared earlier on. My name is Rina Hicks, and have a wonderful day or evening wherever it is that you are watching us from. Take care. Bye-bye.